Hi, thank you for tuning in to Consular Conversations at the U.S. Embassy Kingston, where we answer your questions about visas, American citizen services, and more live. Today, I am joined by Elizabeth and Danio from our consular section. We're going to be discussing how best to prepare for your immigrant visa interview. Firstly, Elizabeth, can you tell us what a visa immigrant is and how it differs from a tourist visa?
Sure. So a tourist visa is you intend to visit the United States for a short period of time, but an immigrant visa is the intention to immigrate, to fully migrate to the United States, receive a green card, and live in the United States. The biggest difference for our purposes at the embassy is that for a tourist visa, you're applying on your own merits, but an immigrant visa, you're being petitioned by a family member or an employer, for example. So you'll go through a process with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services at the Department of Homeland Security, receive an approved petition, and then you'll make it to us here at the U.S. Embassy for an interview.
Thank you so much. Before we get to our audience questions, I'm going to turn it to Danio. Do you have any general tips for people who are coming in for their immigrant visa interview?
Definitely. I have several tips here. One of the main tips is the civil documents. When applicants are coming in, we recommend that they bring along their original and copies. The US documents, copies of those are acceptable, and we would recommend that they upload those documents to the CEAC portal prior to their interview. Once it's a non-US document though, we're going to need to see the original. So for example, if it's a Jamaican birth certificate, if it's a police record, a marriage certificate, a divorce decree, we're going to need to see those original documents. So petitioners out there, for example, if you are petitioning for your parent here in Jamaica and you know that you were Jamaican born, we're going to need to see your original birth certificate. So ensure those documents are ready for when the applicants come in for their interview. Another tip is medical appointments. As soon as you receive a letter from the National Visa Center, which is NVC, regarding your interview date, you're immediately required to reach out to the medical facility to set up your appointment. We recommend visiting their website, right? They will basically give you the instructions as it relates to what you need to take with you on your medical exam date. So for example, the fees, the immunization cards, all that bit, how you're supposed to dress, to ensure that you check out their website, and it should be showing on the screen. Right. Another tip that we recommend, and this is for our K1 visas, which is our fiancé visas. Once it is that your visa or your petition, is ready, normally the National Visa Center or us here at the embassy will notify you, mostly via email, to let you know that, hey, you are required to set your appointment. Because with K1 visas, you are the ones who set your own interview, right? Or the appointment for you to come in and do your interview with us here at the embassy. So we will send you an email. So check those spams, check your primary folder, and we will send you packets as it relates to what exactly that you would need to do in terms of setting your interview date, paying your fees, the documents that you will need to take in. Another pointer is we have started this new initiative here where we are emailing our applicants weeks or days leading up to their interview to let them know exactly what they need to take. So please, guys, ensure that you check those emails. It's very important. And we do contact our clients on several occasions. And when we do contact our clients, it is mostly shown as an unknown number or unknown caller ID. So if you know that you have business here with us at the embassy, you know that you're being filed for, or you know that you're petitioning for someone here, and you see an unknown number calling you, possibility it's us calling. So we recommend that you pick up those phones. And in the event that we don't get you guys, what we will do is that we will send an email. So when you are completing the online DS-260 application form, when you are filing those petitions, please ensure that the email addresses are valid, all right? And the last thing that I want to mention here before I pass it over to my colleague Elizabeth is please don't sell your cars. don't don't sell your cars, don't retire from your jobs, don't book a plane ticket until the visa is issued. And yes, so my colleague here, Elizabeth, will provide you with further tips.
Yes. Yeah. So like Daniel said, make sure that you're filling out your DS-260, your SEAC, completely using the correct contact information, but also completely honestly. Any omissions in the information you provide or incorrect information or information that is untrue could result in severe delays to your application or even total ineligibility for your visa. If you've ever been arrested or been brought to court, we also need to see those documents here at the embassy for your interview. Some other tips about documentation to bring. Immigrant visas often also depend on financial support from your sponsor petitioner. So from your petitioner, you'll want to make sure to bring tax documentation. The easiest one that we recommend to get is called an IRS tax transcript. You're able to visit the IRS website, put in your sponsor's information, like their social security number, and it will give you a transcript that is consolidated. If they work multiple jobs, all of their income is reported in one place, and it's the easiest for us to read. Other key documentation, if your family petition is based on a marriage, so if your husband or wife is petitioning for you, or even if you're petitioning for a stepchild or a step-parent, that to us is still a marriage-based visa. So for marriage-based relationships, we need to see every marriage certificate of the current marriage and past marriages, as well as the divorce or marriage termination documentation, such as a death certificate if a former spouse has passed away. So we need to affirm that the current marriage is totally valid by seeing the termination of all previous marriages as well.
Great, thank you so much. All right, let's turn to some audience questions. For those tuning in, just a reminder, we can't answer questions about your specific case, but feel free to reach out to the immigrant visa section via our website to ask about your case specifically. All right, let's get started. Dave from Facebook asks, what if my police certificate is not ready in time for my interview? Should I reschedule my interview until my police certificate is ready?
I'll take this one. Okay, no. Once it is that you have an interview date set, ensure that you show up for that interview, even if it is that you don't have on time for your interview, please show up to that interview. It's very important.
Thank you so much. All right, Dusty, also from Facebook, asks, my father's filing for me to come to the US. Can I go to my regular doctor for my medical appointment? Caroline?
Yeah, I can take this one. So unfortunately not. Here in Jamaica, on the whole island, we have just one medical provider that is authorized to complete the medical exam for immigrant visa purposes. It's Andrews Memorial Hospital here in Kingston. And the reason for that is the medical exam, it's a little more intensive than your usual annual physical. And all medical providers worldwide for all immigrant visas are held to standards from our American Centers for Disease Control. So as of now, the one medical provider in Jamaica that can complete this medical exam is Andrews Hospital here in Kingston.
Thanks, Elizabeth. All right, Hopton from X, formerly known as Twitter, asks, I filed for my son before he was 16, but as of the interview date, he turned 16. Does he need to submit a police certificate?
Thank you for that question, Hopton. All right, so yes, so even if it is a case where the petition was approved before the applicant turned 16, a police record is still needed as long as the visa isn't issued. So in the event where the applicant. So yes.
Great, thank you. This one is from Instagram, from Kay. She asks, my USC spouse died and my interview is scheduled in Jamaica in 2025. What can I still come to the interview?
That is a good question. So what we would say is come to the interview and we can take a look at the documentation that you have, your marriage certificate from your late spouse, and also the death certificate from your late spouse. And then from there, we can advise you here of your options for moving forward. There is a possibility of petitioning as a widow or a widower for oneself, but we can better advise you at your interview once we review your documentation.
Thanks. Danio from Instagram, Sharon asks, I had my interview on the 12th. The consular officer told me my visa would be sent via courier. What is the courier service?
Okay. All right. So the courier service is, it acts as a delivery company, or it's a middleman between us here at the embassy and our applicants. So in the event, and we're sending you by passport, right? We would send it to the courier service, and then they will reach out to you via email to let you know that, hey, we have a package here for you. You know, you can come here and pick it up. They'll tell you the address. So that's what the courier service is. It acts as a delivery company, and normally once the petition is approved and we send the instructions regarding, you know, moving forward with the visa processing, instructions should be included on how you can register for the courier service. We have our main branch in Montego Bay, and we also have one here in Kingston. The Kingston one is the main branch, sorry. It's the Document Service Center located on Hodope Road. So yes, so that's what the courier service really is.
Great, thank you. And does the courier service work for applicants who are based outside Jamaica, like in the Cayman Islands?
Yes, it does. There is a way bill, I believe, that the Cayman applicants, for example, can use to, for example, send us their passports, or us sending them back their passports or whatever documents that we may have for them. So yes, they can use the courier service as well.
Great. Sarah on Instagram asks, are applicants allowed to bring family members to the interview, and can the petitioner come with them to the interview?
Okay, so generally it is recommended for the applicants and the petitioner. They have the option of coming as well, and it's recommended that the petitioners come as well. So it's the applicants and the petitioners really who we would recommend come to the interview. The applicants are a must though, because they're the one being filed for, and so we will need to see them in person to take their oath and all of that. So yes, the applicants must show up for their interviews, all applicants.
And I'll add that definitely includes children, school-age children that may otherwise have to attend class. We do need to see them here at the embassy as well.
Yes.
Great, thank you. And on that point, when the applicant is doing the interview, can the petitioner answer questions for them? How does the interview work when you have two people at the window?
I can take that.
Yeah.
So it is definitely acceptable in certain situations to have the petitioner alongside the applicant. For example, in the case of a parent petitioning for their child, especially a very young child. But when it comes to, you know, an adult applicant and perhaps an adult petitioner, we really are talking to the applicant. We want to get a sense of their relationship with the petitioner in their own words. But chiming in with an additional detail may be welcome at some points in time too.
Great, thank you. We've heard a few different terms being used, petitioner, filer. Are those interchangeable? Are those the same person, or what do those mean?
Yes, so the petitioner or the filer, they're the practically the same person, because the petitioner is the one who files the petition to get the applicant, for example, here in Jamaica, to migrate to come overseas to live or to reside overseas. So yes.
Great.
One other term you may hear used sometimes is sponsor or financial sponsor. So like I mentioned earlier, immigrant visa petitions also have a financial requirement to them. Oftentimes the petitioner, the U.S. citizen who filed to bring their family member over to the U.S. is the financial sponsor. But in some cases, a joint financial sponsor is needed. And that can be anyone the petitioner knows, as long as they're a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, friend, family member, neighbor, colleague. That's a joint financial sponsor.
Great, thank you so much. All right. Junior from Instagram asks, I want my case to be transferred to another country because I relocated. What should I do?
Okay, so in the event that you'd like to have your case transferred to another country, it's recommended that you send us an email first to let us know which country you want it to be transferred to. And normally you would have to provide some form of evidence, for example, to say that, hey, I'm in this country and I'm unable to come to Jamaica to do my interview. So I'd like to do my interview in Cayman, for example, not Cayman, another country. So you'd have to provide some proof of evidence to us to let us know that you'd like the case to be transferred. We would then reach out to that post and inform them that the applicant would like to have their case there, and then we can move forward with having that done for you.
Great. Omar from X asks, my mom filed for me and I'm scheduled to interview in January 2025, so next month. My passport is set to expire soon after. Do I need to get a new passport?
You can go ahead.
Yeah, so what we would recommend is if you can get a new passport, that would be helpful. But if you're not able to get a new passport by the time your interview comes around, do attend your interview, bring your current passport, that'll expire soon after. And we can talk about what the best decision for you is, whether to wait to issue the visa until you have a new passport, or if you'd like to move forward right ahead. The biggest determining factor is actually the expiration of your medical exam. So your medical exam expires 6 months after the day that you go into the hospital and take it. And that's the expiration of your visa. That's the latest you could travel to the United States. But if your passport expires earlier than your medical exam does, that's a case when we might recommend you renew your passport, bring us the new one, and then we can issue the full visa in your new passport.
Yes.
Great, thanks so much. All right, Danio, John from X asks, will we see any changes in the current visa bulletin or will it remain steady? And maybe you could also explain for some viewers what the visa bulletin is.
Sure. Regarding the visa bulletin, you can check travel.state.gov, select the visa bulletin option once you're on the website. So the visa bulletin basically lets you know like where your case is at in terms of it being documentarily qualified for you to, or for us to process your visa application. All right, so that's what the visa bulletin is. It is very easy to read. If you're having questions or challenges, you can definitely reach out to us via our navigator or visa navigator portal, which can also be found on our website. So that's what the visa bulletin is.
Great, thank you so much. All right. Deshaun on Instagram asks, what if there's a family-based petition, but you get an H-2B visa? Do you have to inform the consulate of that?
Yes. Yes. If it is that you have an H-2B visa, you definitely will need to let us know if you have that before we move forward with your immigrant visa application, because normally what we would do, we would have to cancel the non-immigrant visa, which is the H-2B visa, and then move forward with processing the immigrant visa. So yes, please inform us if you have any form of or any other type of visa that you utilize.
Great, thank you so much. Mo on Instagram asks, can a U.S. citizen petition for a spouse while living with them in Jamaica?
Yes, you definitely can do that. In fact, I interviewed a couple today where that was the case. So essentially, a U.S. citizen is still a citizen regardless of where they're living. So if a U.S. citizen spouse is living with their Jamaican spouse here in Jamaica, they can still pursue filing the petition, pursue other interviews with USCIS to get the petition approved, and then eventually they'll come here to the embassy in Kingston and do the final interview before issuing the visa. So yes, definitely.
Great. Debbie from Facebook asks, I need to withdraw my petition I filed for my husband. What can I do?
Okay, so the first step is you send us something in writing, ensure it is signed, and let us know that you intend on having the petition withdrawn. Once it is sent to us, what we will do is that we will have to send it back to the USCIS, and then they will take further action in from there. So the first step is to send us something in writing, preferably via email, and then we'll take action as soon as possible.
Great, thank you. Joy from X asks, what is my invoice ID?
Okay, so your invoice ID is normally associated with your petition. It is something that identifies your petition, so it lets us know or help us track your case. So that's essentially what it is.
Great. Along with talking about invoices, I know there are some people that try to get money out of people applying for visas. So when people are paying for their immigrant visas, who should they be paying and when? If someone just reaches out to them asking for payment, is that a valid time to pay?
No. Regarding payment for your visa, normally it is done through USCIS. That's when you're filing your petition. However, there are instances where, for whatever reason, you may not be able to pay it at that time. It can be paid afterwards. However, it can only be paid here at the US Embassy, right? We have a system in place for that to take place. So please, guys, do not send money to anyone who may ask you or advise you to send them payment to get a visa. No, it's done here at the US Embassy, and that's for immigrant visas.
Great. Thank you so much. Brand on Facebook asks, how can I check if my visa was canceled? I don't know if that's specific to a tourist visa or an immigrant visa, but maybe they're different.
Well, for immigrant visas, what you can do is that you can, again, send us an email, and then we can definitely provide a call, or we can respond to your inquiry to let you know the status of your visa.
Great. Thank you so much. Elizabeth, June from X asks, how long is the police certificate valid?
Yes, so police certificates are valid from 2 years from the day that they were issued.
Great. And you mentioned the medical is valid
For 6 months. So 6 months from the day that you took the exam.
Okay. I just want to add something regarding the police record. So normally, the 2 years is fine. In light of COVID, we extended it to 2 years. So normally it's 1 year. That's when it's valid for. In light of COVID, it's now 2 years. So you may see, what you will see is 1 year on the police record. If any changes apply, then we will definitely let you know. So currently it's 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great point.
And should people submit police certificates just from Jamaica or other countries as well if they've visited maybe?
Yeah. So we require police certificates for anybody above 16, age 16 or above, for anywhere that they've lived for 6 months or longer. So if you're resident of Jamaica, certainly Jamaica. But let's say you worked for a year in the Bahamas or in the Caymans. We'll also need to see police certificates from anywhere you've lived for 6 months or longer. And those are originals, please.
Yes.
Great. All right. Marie from Facebook asks, will my visitor's visa be canceled when I get my immigrant visa?
Okay, so yes. Once it is that we issue your immigrant visa, what we would normally do is cancel the non-immigrant visa, because you are now intending on being a permanent resident in the United States. So really and truly, there's no need for you to have a US non-immigrant visa.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Keith from Facebook would like to know, my US citizen spouse filed for me. Can I add my daughter to my petition on the day of the interview?
No, unfortunately not. So for a U.S. citizen filing for their spouse, that's what we call an immediate relative visa, which does not include any derivatives. So that would be including your child, for example. But your U.S. citizen spouse can file another petition for your underage child, so 21 or younger. That would be another immediate relative petition. And for our purposes, for immigration, we consider stepchildren children. And they can, your U.S. citizen spouse can file for your child as if it was their natural child as well. Just do make sure that for the step-parent relationship, you bring all marriage and divorce decrees, marriage termination documentation for the natural parent, the biological parent, and the step-parent as well, because it's a parent-child relationship, but it's also a little bit of a marriage relationship as well.
Great, thank you. Along those lines, what if you have a family petitioning together, maybe a mom, a dad, 2 kids, and then at the last minute, they decide that one of the children is going to stay here to finish school? Can the rest of the family still come to the interview and get their visas?
Would you like to take
that one as well? So that's to say, if the one child is going to stay behind in Jamaica sort of permanently, we can not move forward with the visa application, no harm, no foul. But if eventually the child is going to come to the United States, maybe they just want to finish their school exams for the end of the year, they do need to attend the interview. They'll have to do the oath of honesty and things like that so that we can approve the visa. But the family does not have to travel to the US altogether at once. Mom and dad and a couple of the kids can move up first. And then once the last child finishes school, for example, they can go up once exams are done too.
Great. Marlene from Facebook says, my daughter has been waiting 2 years since everything was done. When is she going to get an interview?
Okay, Marlene. All right. So it depends on whether or not your daughter is documentarily qualified, and we would have to make our checks here. If she is, normally we would send an email to let you know that the visa processing is ready for her, or NVC or the National Visa Center would send an email to let you know. But we would also recommend that you check the visa bulletin. It will definitely provide more insight as it relates to where exactly your visa category is at, or where your daughter's visa category is at. So we recommend checking the visa bulletin. Again, we must apologize for how the delay might impact you getting to see your daughter. But check with the visa bulletin, and we'll definitely work with you in having your daughter to the US.
Great, thank you. As we mentioned, most of these visas are based on relationships that the applicant has to someone already in the States. So when we're trying to validate that relationship, what are some things people can bring in to show that they have a valid relationship with that person?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things is often it's right on the documentation that you're already bringing. So a parent being listed on the birth certificate, for example, a valid marriage certificate. But something also to remember is photos are a great way to demonstrate your relationship. I'll remind everyone that you can't bring your cell phone into the embassy. So any photos you'd like to bring would have to be printed out and brought physically. But, photos, for example, showing many visits over a long period of time with a U.S. citizen parent and a child here in Jamaica, the child growing up together, for example. Something that is also helpful, I recommend sometimes, would be transfer receipts from money transfers like Western Union, for example, the receipts from those, perhaps a baptism certificate or school records where a parent has signed their name supporting the child as well, something that I recommend.
Okay, great. So I know we're talking about immigrant visas, but I will throw in one non-immigrant visa question just to keep you guys on your toes. Someone asked, my visitor's visa is expiring in 2 months. Do I need to wait till it expires to come in, or can I start the renewal process now?
You can start the renewal process now. So you may be qualified for what is called an interview waiver. So under certain circumstances, you may be able to waive the requirements of coming into the embassy and doing another interview. But I would recommend that you submit your documentation here to the embassy, as soon as possible, and they'll get back to you to advise if you're qualified or not, or if you should still come in for an interview for your renewal.
All right. So someone I think might have joined a bit late and is asking, I'm filing for my parents. Should they wait for the interview before they schedule their medical exam?
No. So once it is a case where you receive an email from us or from the National Visa Center regarding your interview date, we'd recommend that you reach out to the medical facility to set your medical exam as soon as possible. And even if it is that you're not able to attend the medical in time for you to get to your interview, still attend your interview. The medical can be done afterwards.
And one reminder I always like to share for folks that are petitioning for their parents, please remember that your birth certificate is also required. So you as the child petitioner alongside the birth certificates for your parents as well.
All right. If someone left their interview requiring more documentation, maybe they forgot to bring something and there was something else going on, will the embassy contact them again to say, hey, you haven't submitted this, or should it be the responsibility of the applicant to keep in touch with us to make sure they bring their documents that we need?
Yes. So, all right. So usually after an interview, if there's anything that is outstanding or if there's anything that we may need, what we would do is that we will provide a 221G instruction sheet. It's a checklist. It lets you know what you need to take or what you need to send to us. So the onus is on the applicant really to ensure that they send us those documents. And even in the event where you're sending us something via email or electronically, please send us an email to let us know and say, hey, I've uploaded this document or I've sent this document in, so that we may take action. So yes, the onus is on the applicant to definitely take action on whatever documents or items that we may need.
Okay. Along those lines, applicants come into the interview and bring in their passport. Should they be expected to leave their passport at the embassy after the interview, or if they're pending additional documentation, should they be taking the passport home with them? What's that look like for them?
So basically at the end of the interview, we'll advise you. Pretty much we will give you back your passport. If there's any documentation missing, we'll ask you to send back that documentation alongside your passport. But in the case where the only missing item is the medical exam and you've taken your medical exam, so basically you've taken it, but the hospital hasn't sent us the results yet, that's very normal and very common. In those cases, we will retain your passport here at the embassy so that as soon as we do get the medical results and they've come back clear, we can issue your visa right away. In all other cases, we'll return your passport to you, and then we'll expect you to send back your passport alongside whatever documentation was missing.
All right. As we wrap up our final few questions, I have people sending in the last things that they would like to ask. I know, Daniel, you mentioned reaching out if someone has a question. Where can they find the best way to contact us?
Okay, so they may use our visa navigation portal, and it's on our website. The link should be showing, or we will pin the link in the chat. And it basically gives you detailed instructions as it relates to how you can send the email or any questions that you may have to us. So check out our website, the navigation portal, and yes, that's how you can communicate or reach out to us regarding any questions that you may have.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth and Daniel, for joining us today. I hope the audience found this useful. And feel free, again, like Daniel said, to reach out if you have any questions specific to your case. And don't forget to join us every month for our Consular Conversations. Thank you, guys. Bye.